Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my new friend, Whitedove Gannon. Say hi.
Hi. How are you guys?
Oh, well, I'm doing fantastic. And all of the listeners, I imagine, are responding en masse. That's going to give me a fun little mental picture later on. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what kind of business you're in.
I'm a serial entrepreneur. Let's go with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you just blips because I don't want this to be all about, the entire journey. But I have.
Oh, we'll dig into the journey. Don't you worry.
We'll get to the backside of the journey for sure. But at this point in time, I have an agency, G7 Creative Agency, where we design and create mini courses for business owners.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I work, I do consulting and copy chiefing for a friend of mine's agency, and he does email marketing. So I'm still in the agency world and I love it. And then I also love my podcast. So it's great. We all get to do different things. It's fantastic. So we were talking a little bit before the call about, and I'm kind of obsessed with this too. There are rules in business. There are unspoken rules. There's these little niggling things about how you're supposed to behave and what reality is supposed to be like that I think we internalize and we don't really talk a lot about. But you mentioned that you really like figuring out a way to break the rules, to make them fit to the way you want to live your life. So I just want to dig deep into this. Let's go. Break the rules.
Let's do it. I challenge myself often, because in how I was raised, I'm in my 40s. And so most people that can resonate with being Gen X or close to that time frame, born in the 70s, can understand that we carry some of the old ideologies and the old thought processes of how we are supposed to show up, especially feminine energy. Mm-hmm. And so in that, as being a wife, a mother, a business partner, all the above, all of those things, all of my stuff for the longest time, the things that I would create, my creative desires, my ability to build a business was always hobby-ish. It was always just my little side thing. It was never really designed to be multi-six figures, seven figures in and of itself. That was reserved for creating a corporation with my husband. And we don't have that business anymore. We shut it down after 13 years. The time had come, but nothing I'm saying about this is in any way, shape, or form a knock towards any other path of how it's doing it. I want to bring attention to the fact that I can, and I have, and I do create a business that is independently mine. It is independently successful. It is independently with its own bank account. I don't have to ask my husband permission to spend money. Now, some people might decide that they want to do that inside of, their partnership bliss or whatever. I make business decisions for my business because that's what my business needs. Mm-hmm. If it's a big, sizable financial decision, I'll let him know. That's what I'm doing. I'll let him know the resources are there for it in my business. My business has to be its own entity in and of itself, but I'm not asking permission. And I grew up with the fact that I was kind of, I was, the Robin to the Batman. I was the side person. I was the support team. I was the person that, made the day better when he got home from work or all those things. We didn't start it out that way because we started our construction company very early on in our relationship. And so we really came into it as a pair. And that then when I started my own entrepreneurial ventures from there, which have been several, I started them as hobbies. I started them as side things. I started them as time fillers. And then I raged. About 2 years ago, I raged against the mompreneur title. And I wrote a post about it. I said, gals, women, we have to stop accepting these cute terms for what it is we're doing, because a business is a business is a business. If you are generating income and you have your ducks in a row with your business has its own account, you're doing your accounting. I went to school and became an accountant too. So I have that aspect to it. But if we're doing this, it's a business. We don't have dadpreneurs out there. We don't have, if they go
Can I rage? I'm going to rage about that too. Fucking boss babe. God. Stop it. Okay. I don't hate you as a person if you identify as boss babe, but it's so annoying. So annoying.
And I'm going to put a spin to that. it actually reduces the power of your business and where you can take your business by accepting those terms. And I make no excuse for the fact that I understand women find a niche in there. They find camaraderie in there. They find like-mindedness in there. But girl, if you've got a business, I don't care if you're building it and kicking ass when your kids are sleeping for a nap, or if it's on your kitchen table, or if you've got a big, huge corporate office. It's a fucking business. Mm-hmm. Treat it like that, own it like that, and go crush the world with it, because there's no reason to limit yourself in being able to grow. Yes. That is a rule that we have subconsciously set on ourselves by adopting that terminology.
I totally agree. And it's such a subtle thing. I don't disagree with anywhere that you find community. And if you find comfort in a mompreneur community, absolutely. Those are your people. Be there, build that business, do that thing. But look at what you call yourself and how you identify, and see if that is really supporting where you want to go with this, if you want to have a serious business, or if it's subtly undermining, exactly like you said. And I wanted to point out, I was making notes while you were talking, there was a couple great things that I wanted to spotlight. I think they're fantastic and they're really smart. You talked about permission and how you were making decisions. And I think that's a critical distinction to draw, especially for people that are new to business. And if they're freelancing, creating a business for a new time, you are the business owner. You make decisions. You don't ask anybody for permission. This isn't like the old job where you had to go get approval to do something. Right. You run your business like you see fit. You learn on the consequences of your decisions, good or bad. Hopefully they're good. We're going to make our best, most informed decision with all the information that we've got, but we're going to make a decision. We're going to take action, and we're going to figure out how to recover from there. Yeah, there's my rant. You're not asking for permission. You don't have a boss to go to. You are the boss. You make the calls.
Decisions. And decisions are decisions. There's no bad decision. Mm-hmm. There's just outcomes that we didn't see based on the knowledge that we went into that decision with. But guess what? We learned. Mm-hmm. We learned going through that. So then we outcome adjust from there and say, okay, this is what we didn't see on the other side of the decision. But standing in making a decision for your business, if you desire to grow your business to a CEO role, either a big corporation, if you want to just have a side business, a side hustle, a side hobby, and just bring in something that just feeds your creative soul, nothing wrong with that. It's fine there. It's beautiful to be there. And I know some amazing women that own businesses in that world. But if you want to grow something, and my desire was to always grow something that was bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not a financial number I want to hit. It says, how far can I go? What could I not do? Show me what I can't do. It's almost me testing the boundaries of what can't I do then? Because what I do know is that I can figure out what I can do quite well, to a disadvantage sometimes, because my creative mind goes squirrel a lot, but I love the squirrel. I love the squirrel. But if you want to build your business to a CEO level, a corporate level, or even a small business, multi-six figure, and you know that person in 2, 3, 4 years, when you're hitting multi-six figures, if you're hitting 50,000 a year right now, you're hitting multi-six figures in 2, 3, 4 years. Guess what? You need to start being that person now, instead of waiting until that point to show up to be that person. So own it now. Own him, her, whoever. Own it now, because you're going to need to be that person eventually, and you know it.
Mm-hmm. And that's an amazing insight too. I think that really ties into that other point that I wanted to highlight this. And I think it's an awareness, right? Because neither one of us are judging you for having a hobby business or a side hustle. That doesn't make you any less of a serious entrepreneur than somebody that's after 6, 7, 8 figures and beyond. Yeah. What I am saying, and I think what Whitedove is saying as well, is if you want a serious business, know that you want a serious business and stop treating it like a hobby. If you want a hobby, stop pressuring yourself to turn this into a 7-figure empire if you don't have the time or the energy or the desire to invest in this to the level that you've got to grow it to. So being aware of what you want to achieve from your business. If it's spare cash, great. Mm-hmm. If it's an empire bent on world domination, great.
Go for it.
I humbly submit to our robot overlords. It's coming and I am weak. It's going to happen.
Well, and one little thing to that too, is that you don't need permission to change your mind.
Yep.
Either way. If you want to have a hobby business right now for side cash, cool. If you decide in a year you want to go be world domination, done, do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in world domination mode, you're like, you know what, this isn't what I wanted to, this is not what I want to have out there or what I want to be doing. Cool. Back it off. You don't need to ask permission. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't need to worry about that. Be okay with making that decision to change. Whenever.
I love that you added that, because I think a lot of the struggles that I have with my students is they feel like if they hang their shingle out there and they say, I specialize in X, that forevermore I am doomed to be a specialist in X. And I'm like, this is for now. It's not forever. You could change your mind tomorrow. I'm going to encourage you to commit to it for a couple months and see how it goes.
Yes.
But every decision that you make can be undone aside from death. Like, if it's not the end, there's a chance to do it differently. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy to undo the choices you've made, but you can always undo them. You can accept a job. You can back out of that job 2 days later. Like,
that's right.
You can move across the country. You can move back across the country a week later. Like,
that's right.
It's not hard, but it can be, or it's not easy, but it can be done, even if it's hard.
And you don't need permission.
You never need permission to do any of these things. It's your life. You need to consider the impact on the people around you.
Absolutely.
But it's still, that's a data point, like the impact on this, the logistics of that, the cost of that, the timing of that. All of these things play into the bigger role of decision making, but none of those things is permission.
Right.
Oh, I love
that
it.
One.
Whitedove, you get me. You get me. Like, this is the whole thing I'm going for. Because that was one of the subtle things that we were talking about before that I had internalized. And I think I've told this story before on the podcast, but one of my mentors literally spelled out to me, I feel like you're waiting for permission for someone to come along and anoint you to be an expert. And you don't actually need that. Like, you can go out and help people knowing exactly what you know right now.
That's right.
And you get better the more you work with people and the more you discover what they're struggling with and how you can help. But you can start where you're at, help the people that you can help, get better. But just in case you are waiting for someone to give you permission, I hereby anoint you expert enough.
Right.
And it was like he took off the reins, like he just unleashed me and let me go. And it really took off because I had a lot of the similar head trash that you mentioned, that I had to have this professional image. And there was a way that I needed people to think about my business for me to feel good about my business. And I think I got onto a call where I got super ranty one day and people leaned in. And that was my first indication of they wanted to work with a real person, not a business front. Like they actually liked me. Well,
wait a minute. That became a connecting point. Interesting. Just being you.
Yeah, who knew? And then it turns out that when I was pretending to be the stuffy corporate person that I thought you needed to be a successful business person, I wound up in stuffy, boring corporate meetings where I, wanted to just curl up and take a nap in the corner because I was bored out of my fucking skull. And if that's how you run business and it works for you, again, no judgment.
Right.
As you can tell, you can't see the video, but like my fiery red hair and my colorful tattoos and this permission to kick ass podcast, emphasis, permission.
Kick it.
Yeah, kick all kinds of ass. That ain't my style. I really no, I want to be dressed as the evil queen rocking out on a stage. True story. Did that at an actual business conference. Who knew?
Fun, right?
You can have fun with business.
Yes.
Oh, that goes back to that awareness. Like you can build whatever kind of business you want. It starts with knowing what you want, though.
There's also, I want the audience to know that I still have to break the rules. I still have to remind myself. I still find myself defaulting into an old paradigm or an old thought process, or in a moment where I'm just like, oh, this is overwhelming. Let me just go back to my old, way of writing, and it's very polished, and you get this and you get that. There's some stories that I share, and I've started sharing more, but I still struggle with it. I don't want people to think that I've got this licked. I'm a pro at being, out there calling it what it is. I do call it what it is. I have indicated things inside of the industry that I work in that I don't like and I don't like seeing, and called attention to things that I think ought to be done better by my peers that do the same thing that I do, and so in that world, I'll say it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Or I'll write it out and then I'll be like, oh, delete, but I'll wait, copy, paste over here and then delete over here. So if I come back to this, I'll still have all my badassery in written form. But at the same time, I struggle with it. I don't want people to think that it's, you achieve a moment where you're just you out there, because there's a lot of desire, especially in our open space of social media and businesses becoming ever more on the digital platforms. There's so much more subject to scrutiny, and there's so much more backlash, and there's so much more judgment, and you have to be okay with some of this, and you have to ease into accepting the fact that, this is what it's going to be. I have a post out there on my business page, and for the first time ever, just this last weekend, someone trolled it and said a drunk, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to delete it. I was like, no, actually, I'm not. I replied back and I said, how so? How, because I was like, where do you get a drunk? One, I don't know you. Mm-hmm. Two, I understand you're just trolling me. I get it. Three, maybe you're mad at the industry and I triggered you or something. It's not me necessarily. So I gave the person, the respondent, an opportunity to give me more of their point of view as to why they said that comment instead of just deleting it. But a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have just deleted it because I'd be like, ooh, that's negative. And why would they say that? Number one, I don't drink. I've been dry for over 2 years. Mm-hmm. Personal decision, reasons behind that, not that I'm against it, but when you are closely involved with someone that suffers from addiction, mm-hmm. there are decisions that I make for my reasonings to that. So that hit on another level too, that I am very seriously dry by choice, but I don't share that often. So again, on all those levels, I was just like, fascinating that you would actually troll me and say that, mm-hmm. Not know me, all these things, but I wanted the person to respond. No response came. I know it's a troll, but I left it there so that the rest of the public that sees this can actually see that it's not disregarding someone's interpretation of something. It's asking for clarification because mm-hmm. I know it's not me. That I'm pretty certain of. But truth be told, I still questioned whether or not I should delete that.
Absolutely. I actually had one of the things that I was most scared about in putting out this podcast to begin with was I knew at some point I'd have to advertise it to get mm-hmm. it in front of more than just my small group of people, which is like my small group of people is amazing. And I also want more people to listen to it, So I knew I was going to get trolled. I knew eventually. And of course, the first time I ran ads, I set the parameters way too wide because I'm thinking, hey, I've had great business conversations with people in this age group and that demographic. We're just going to go super broad here and peg it on interest. I included a lot of angry old white dudes in my first round of ads. And they were angry. Oh, what is this shite posting memes and stuff like that? And this is garbage. What are you doing on my feed? I had people private messaging me, get off my page. Okay, Zuckerberg. I found your incognito disguise. So it's not like, the moment has arrived where I'm facing the fear that I psyched myself up over launching this podcast about. It's here. The trolls have come out and they're in full force and they're feeding on each other. And 14-year-old troll Angie came out to the party and was like, we're bumping my podcast up in the feed. Thanks for joining the party. And like they would bitch about something and I'd be like, hey, just a small business owner trying to do great things. Thanks for your help, brother. Appreciate it. Just like you cannot make me mad today. There was one that got a little under my skin where he posts his podcast under my ad and goes, if you want a podcast that will actually help you, check this one out. And so I wrote back and was like, hey, man, happy to help. Glad that you're doing this. Podcasting is hard. Welcome to the party. I'm going to challenge you a little bit on the words of podcast that will actually help because I work really hard to make sure that mine is helpful. And of course, he responds back with that, well, I'm not responsible for your interpretation. And I was like, fucking delete. Like that's the moment that you use that lack of awareness in arguing with me, it could have been, hey, I didn't mean to do that. Let me edit it or any other number of things. But like you came onto my ad to glom your podcast on for free. Not in my fucking house, bro. I don't
Nope. And you know what? Not a single person that would think that that's even remotely business-like to do that. Mm-hmm. Do you even want to have follow you?
No.
Go
exactly.
with it.
Like I immediately went to block Like I will give them,
Exactly.
just like you said, I'll give them a chance to talk.
Right.
I'll ask for more information. I'll give them a chance. And then after that, it's going to be, nope, this is my world. Don't come. I heard it somewhere, but I don't remember where. Don't come into my house and shit on the carpet.
That's right.
That's not allowed.
That's right. You can come into my house, but keep your shit outside.
Yeah. There's a bathroom for that. It's literally not the carpet. Don't do that. What kind of human being are you? And it's interesting because, you mentioned, to circle back to some of the unspoken industry norms. I work as a copywriter, and it's still, even 10 years later, there's a lot more women, but it's still a very male dominated industry. And nothing made that more clear than one of my friends today posted a screenshot on Facebook of a job listing for writers. And it was like, hey, do you want to beat the heat instead of beating your meat? Apply here for a copy job. And I was like, what is
my gosh
wrong with you? First of all, this shows me that you have never, ever hired before in your life, because you used a dirty sex joke to attract people. So who are you attracting here? I love a good dirty sex joke, but I don't take your business seriously if that's how you are advertising for people to work. You have like no qualifications except for a Google form to apply. Prepare for the onslaught, dude. Like the tsunami is coming and you are about to get buried in shitty applications because you had a shitty job post. And then we were just ranting about like, why does this still even happen? What does beating your meat have to do with finding a writer? I know that you think it's clever and fun, but why in this industry do we always default to sexual jokes?
Exactly.
Get it.
Masculine dominated sexual jokes. Is where it ends up being too, which I find is interesting. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but interesting in the regard that, that is a subject of jokes in amongst masculinity too. I'm like, why are we going down that road? I mean, we don't talk about all the other things that are possible. We don't make jokes about weird random jokes about vaginas or breasts or something, unless you're being crude on the other end, so I'm just like, why is that even relevant in the conversation of hiring for a platform? And what is the platform writing for? Who are they writing for? And is that even somebody I would want to work with? One,
it didn't even talk about what they wrote about. That's why I was like, prepare for the onslaught. You gave no details, no qualifications, just your stupid little pun. Dumb. I'm totally judging that. That's a stupid pun. Don't use it. Beat your meat and beat the heat, whatever.
Yeah, that's like somebody going out there. I was reading something. I'll leave details out, but someone's like, yeah, well, you were bragging, that you were with over 100 women, and I'm just like, interesting. I'm going to watch this thread because I find it fascinating that this person finds a business angle in bragging about, how they've turned the corner and they're no longer like that, but they've been with this amount of people. And I'm just like, okay. And if your demographic that you're shooting for in your business is slutty men, then maybe, but
they're out there and they need help. So I guess if you need to help them, go for it.
For real. But if you're trying to, appeal to married couples, I kind of think that's a different approach. Maybe check your audience. Don't be tone deaf. That's just be aware.
That's good. I think like the recurring theme of this episode winds up being awareness, knowing who you're for, knowing what you want to do, who you're talking to. Because look, obviously that same troll ad that I was scared of with all the angry old white men. I think right in close proximity, I had posted something like, I'm frustrated because my ads are getting randomly shut down by Facebook because of the word ass in the title. And I couldn't figure out at first, like, why some of them are going through and some of them are getting flagged. Is somebody like flagging me in their feed? I don't know what's going on. And so I just posted a little vent about this. Like, I knew this was going to be a challenge when I chose the name for this podcast. I knew that this was a possibility. I'm still frustrated as hell that I can't figure out how to consistently get these ads approved. And one guy, always taking me to school, these old angry white men, posts, simple solution, just change it to permission to kick butt. What? Thanks for your fucking suggestion, bro. If I wanted to call it permission to kick butt, I would have done that from the beginning. And yeah, it's not really an easy, I didn't say all this to him. I was very polite, but I'm just thinking here in the background. Yeah. Okay. Easy solution for you. I just think a thought and then magically all of the links and the creative and all of the other things that have been written and had to happen behind the scenes to make this show live just magically change with no extra effort on my part. What is wrong with you?
Or just hire a VA for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just hire a VA to make all those changes for you then, right? But it's not a change that you want. Yeah. That's not the point. The point is that that's not a solution.
Yeah. It's not a realistic solution. It's not a solution that takes into consideration the bigger business picture at all.
Right.
And I hate when people are like, just hire a VA to do it. Have you hired a VA? Finding a good VA is, it's maddening. It's a struggle.
Mm-hmm. I've spent time in, you were talking about some of the unspoken things in the industry. I spend time in some of the influencers' worlds where I teach the concepts in their workshops for them. I'm a contractor. And that's part of, spending time in front of hundreds of people to determine where my audience is in the long run, where having a finger on the pulse of the digital product creation world. And it's male dominated. And we all know that there's a very common term of bro marketing out there. Yeah. We know that bro marketing exists. So in my investigative nature, I decided to back that actual term up and figure out where it came from. And so I did. And then I ended up buying two, and I'll probably buy his new book. He wrote about it in 2017, and it wasn't intended to be the flashy lifestyle entrepreneur with the yacht and, a bunch of frat boys partying it up with pretty girls and bikinis and Lamborghinis and palm trees and mansions, right? It actually didn't start there. The industry itself adopted it and created something out of that term that was not the intention of it. It was it stood for boiler room operations. And it was the BRO stands for that. But he was referencing in the book that it was about how stockbrokers in the early 2000s would sell something that didn't actually exist. And so he was referencing that being, in the marketing world right now, there's a lot of crap that gets sold that it's all about the sale and nothing for the consumer after that. There's no learning, no improvement, no outcome, no anything. That's what bro marketing was intended to, is what he meant by it. But I had to reference all the way back because there are people that get nasty pissed off about that terminology because they have inherently adopted it. And it's not gender specific. It's both sides of it. There's shitty business owners in the digital world all over the place, but it does happen to be a male dominated world up on the influencer side of it, as far as digital product creation goes. But that being said, the whole purpose of what I stand for inside of my industry is that I want to call attention to creative outcomes in the digital world. They do exist, but we, and I speak for me in my industry, we need to put more emphasis and importance to that than it is to clicking the bump order upsell 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of upsells. Stop that shit. Quit trying to operate over there. And let's just go for a single outcome that changes the fucking world. Because we have a ton of people out there that can do some really cool things, and they lose momentum and they lose steam because they've just been pitched to so hard, believing that it's possible, and there's nothing behind it.
Well, and I think it feeds on itself, that kind of practice that has more of a sales outcome and like, how big can we win? How big can we score? And it's fueled kind of this epidemic almost of shiny object syndrome and people chasing the high. And there's this really interesting feeling that I've noticed, especially with people that buy like in the online education space, they're buying a digital course, whatever, that sometimes making the purchase feels almost as good, if not better, than solving the problem. And the problem was why they went to buy this thing to begin with. But like, as soon as that money has left their bank and they've got the solution in hand, they're like, relief. Well, like, the work has just begun. You bought this, you bought the solution. You now have to implement it. The work is not over. And then it feeds kind of this vicious cycle of like, okay, well, now I have to do the work. Now I'm disenchanted with this product. Now I haven't gotten results because I haven't put in the work from this product. Let me go buy the next thing that makes me feel good.
And there is that, but my industry absolutely needs to do better at being more focused on not just allowing them to vet your people.
Yeah.
That, if you have something available and it's a low ticket offer or a mid ticket offer, or whatever, if you're utilizing that just for the sake of the funnel, that's not a two-way street. You're not desiring that person to change their world. So there needs to be more conversation, less on the pitch of it and the creation of it, and more on what are we doing? What is the outcome for this? What do you want to change? How do you want people coming through this to change? And then driving conversation in that direction instead of it just being massive conferences selling these big packages and maybe a couple people buy the down sell instead and they never fulfill it. Completion rates are whatever on the digital education side of the digital world, because some people can go in there and get what they needed from half of it and change the world that way. Some people need the whole thing and they do it that way, but it doesn't matter. We shouldn't judge it on completion rates. And if we have a low completion rate, then let's see what they are completing and tweak it and build something that is for them to be able to utilize that micro outcome instead. Then don't make it this 8-week transformation course when all people are really wanting is week 2. Let's be aware. Let's, as industry leaders in my industry, be aware, do the things, be with integrity. I want business to be with integrity, be who you are, follow up with what it is you're doing, and love the outcome, because the minute you don't, you just created yourself a job.
Yeah. I give a damn about the person on the other end of the screen and their outcomes and their results and their transformation. There was one industry leading guru type that I worked with that sells information products. And I really loved his stance. We never pitched. We made an offer and we showed people how this could help them. And then it was no pressure. Like, we would push them out of their comfort zone because it was an investment, right? It's a spendy product.
Sure.
And we would tell them, we've been selling this for 15 years. We're not going anywhere. So if now is not the time, it's okay. Go do what you need to do. Go take care of your family. We're not interested in taking money food out of your mouth. We're not interested in you risking the car payment or the house payment or anything like that. That's not what we're about. We're about getting you into a space where you feel comfortable enough to take the action that's going to change your life. And if that's not now, cool.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely think that is a key, because there's a lot of focus on tactics and data without that human element. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about when it's like the endless order bumps and, designing the funnel without thinking about the people.
Right.
Totally with you on all of that.
Yeah. It's a big world. The digital world's a big, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's here to stay and in fact, evolve from there.
Yeah. If anything, it got even bigger during 2020 when everybody was stuck at home. But then people started to realize that online education is significant. There are experts out there that can help you learn critical skills that don't require you to go to university and put yourself tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I love that. Like, if you can go spend $2,000 on a course and gain a critical skill that is going to earn you hundreds of thousands over the course of your lifetime, then that was a great investment.
Huge.
That was a fantastic investment. I've still got student loans that I'm paying off from my master's degree that I don't know that they were a great investment compared to some of the $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 courses that I've bought online.
I've equally spent more now on my own self-education in the online world than my college, for sure. And I welcome it. In fact, I mean, I want to not knock the college experience as far as learning. My dad used to say, this is so cliche, but different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing, but the value in the digital world does exist. And it is a widely accepted opportunity to learn and has only gotten better and is only going to get better.
I think that's so important. And it's such a critical distinction. Like, look, guys, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about buying a course from someone, it's okay to wait. There are people out there that are using high pressure tactics that really want to push you off the fence. But like, that's my favorite tactic. If I really want something, I will wait. And if it comes around next year, I know that they've got staying power. and I've seen the offer, so I know how much to save for this thing. So I'm not going into debt for it. So, but like if it's a flash in the pan and this is the first time we're offering it, we're never going to offer again, and you need to buy now, and it's a lot of money, and like, no, I'm not here for that.
Well, and if it evokes FOMO, give it a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because impulse buying is not necessarily seeing the outcome that's deliverable inside of purchasing that. So understand what's possible. Ask yourself if you're willing to go through the content and make the change that they're promising is available there. Sit with yourself and determine what it is that you're ultimately thinking that's going to bring to you, and ultimately what it has brought to others, and kind of give it a once over. But if you're purchasing off of FOMO, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Mm-hmm. And I think like this, the golden rule applies to everything that we're talking about. If that kind of high pressure tactics makes you feel squishy, squicky, ew, why would you do that to your future customers as you're designing your business? You don't have to. You can make plenty of money out there being friendly, happy. I've threatened to start Zorbing retreats just to see if I could sell tickets to a Zorbing retreat. Mm-hmm. I don't need any high pressure for that, because that's interesting, and the people that are for it are going to join. And then if I sell nothing, I know, okay, well, that was a shitty offer. Let me go do something else. But yeah, you don't have to resort to the tactics in place of being an actual fucking human.
Right. Be a business owner that stands for integrity and really wants to see a change in the world, because then those are the people that you'll attract as your clients. Those are the people that will have a ripple effect of making a difference in other people's lives. But business is a catalyst for change. We can use it as a vehicle to make change. And God knows that this world needs change. And we've got some brilliant minds out there that still have yet to be tapped fully.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's like the perfect note to end it on. That's beautiful. If you're listening to this and you have not gone out there after the business, or you're struggling, or wherever you're at, you're that brilliant untapped mind that we need. Keep going.
Yes.
For the love of everything, keep going. You will figure it out if you don't quit. So White Dove, tell us more about where we can find you online.
You can find me under Whitedove Gannon on the social channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Literally my name, my father branded me when he named me Whitedove. So it's pretty hard to not find. And then my agency is g7creativeagency.com, or you can get a sneak peek at me, the person more, over on whitedove-gannon.com.
Fantastic. I'll make sure that they have clickable links in all the show notes. This has been amazing. Like, I think this is the rantiest recording I have done yet. So thank you for
off the rail.
So many soapbox moments. Fantastic.
Oh, so
thank
good.
you so much for being on the show, and I will talk to you soon. So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books. If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.